طيب. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. My name is Saif Al-ruhaili, and I am pleased to be amongst you today to continue our series where we try to find the divine messages in the Holy Quran, and we try as much as we can to study them, discuss them, and how to get the maximum benefits as long as we are alive today, so we can implement them and we can benefit from them for our next life. One of the key aspects is talking about money. And what I feel is there is an untold story of money, how the Quran addressed this subject, and why it's mentioned in the Quran, and what is expected from us to react or how to behave toward this thing, what is called money, and what its relation to our belief, to our let's say acts of worship towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what I felt that because we are living in an environment, in most of the cases, we get the messages we receive from the environment, and we behave according to what we see from the people around us, or those who taught us, our parents, our schools. And in most of the cases, we don't go back to the reference. We don't go back to the verses of the Holy Quran. And we think it's enough what we've seen or what we've been told. And there is no need going back to the source and to try to understand that. So I feel there is an untold story of the money. And let's try to navigate that today through the holy verses. So there are 5 facts that you need to let's say put them in a hierarchy aspects where you need to understand this subject. And the fact number 1, when you read anything about in the Holy Quran, anything you read in the Holy Quran, be very articulate about the messages. Be smart. Try to hear the verse, try to understand it, and try actually to find out what is meant. The words of the Quran are not constructed without any realizations for the meaning or the messages is meant to be. So what is happening that people take some verses very lightly, or sometimes when you read the Quran, you try to not give any sort of attention to some verses, because if you do so, they will provoke some thoughts, some critical thinking, and makes you wonder a lot about the way you behave or the way you act in this life. And sometimes that's annoying because you always want to be in the comfort zone. So you don't want to ask questions. You don't want to actually investigate. You don't want to go deep with thoughts into these verses. So but the fact that you need to be very articulate about the messages. Be very smart when you deal with them so you can understand them. And then this is for your own benefit. This is for your own good. That's fact number 1. The fact number 2, you should have this as a base for your life. Money is worthless once you die. And there are lots of verses, lots of messages in the Quran. It tells you this explicitly. Once you die, there is no going back. So be very careful. And why you need to know this? So whatever you believe, whatever you think, whatever you are required to do, you need to be as fast as possible to accomplish, because your deadline is the hour you die. That's fact number 2. When you deal with money, you need to know there is no time. Okay. Fact number 3, money is a vital factor for believers. It's something that show how practical you are, because there are two things in the belief you have: some claims, some emotions, thoughts, principles. But money cannot be something only how you think about it. It needs what you do about it. So you need to be practical. Money can tells you how much of a believer you are. In brief, you need to know this fact. Okay, this is very important for you, because money is there and we love money. Okay, that's a nature in us. It's a built-in feature in us that we love money. And then there is something requires from us to be practical to show this. Okay, now fact number 4, you need to be mindful when you deal with money. It's not just about giving. It's not about paying your bills and dues. You need to be fully conscious and fully mindful when you deal with money, because it's not something random. It is related to your core belief. And that's very important. The last one, or the last fact, expect nothing in returns when you deal with money. So that's a major issue. And that's something also built-in feature, because life is about giving and receiving. The problem is, in the Qur'an, it tells you to expect nothing from the one you give to the money. And we will come to these details. But these are the ground rules, the ground facts when you deal with money. And you will suffer. It needs lots of training. It needs lots of sessions with yourself, where you can actually benefit or understand the concept of money, or as they say, the psychology of money from the Quranic perspective, not from the people perspective, or the businessman perspective, or the politician perspective. Each one has a perspective about the money. But what you really need, is what is the Quranic perspective about this money. It's very important for you. And it's real. It's not just a concept, it's real. So the first thing you need to know about the messages in the Quran, whenever you read any verse speaking about spendings or giving money or charity or zakat or whatsoever, you need to put these ground rules. Okay? The first one, whatever you read is deadly serious. It's not a game. It doesn't have multiple meanings. It's a direct message. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah At-Tariq, إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلٌ فَصْلٌ وَمَا هُوَ بِالْهَزْلِ. It is mentioned clearly that every verse, every word, every chapter in this Quran is not a joke. It is a decisive word. It is like a meant to be message. And this is what happens sometimes when we read the Quran. We said, I am not, this verse is irrelevant. When you try to connect the dots with the verses, because when you connect the dots, you understand that the message is heavy. And that's the second ground rule. It's heavy. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy to do these tasks, because it's a task of purification. If you have some clothes and they are very dirty and you want to clean, you need to do some job. You need to do some efforts. And these tasks are not easy, especially towards money. It's not simple. If you feel it's simple, if you feel it's easy, make sure that you are not doing something right. It needs to be heavy. And how you know this? Because as you grow old in your life, you are also taking higher steps toward Allah. Hum darajatun indallah. Once you, let's say, pass level 1, now you want to go to level 2. There are steps, there are levels in Jannah. They say there are 8 doors and there are categories. And Allah Ta'ala, He has favored, even in Jannah, people are favored according to their deeds. So you need to realize this, that there is unlimited levels in terms of how you deal with money. Okay, so this is heavy. So you go from level 1, maybe you stay 60 years or 40 years or 50 years, but you are in the same level. You still have not provided level 2 or level 3 or level 5. Okay, and you need to know these are heavy messages. Okay, the third one is it's a qualifying test. And because it's a qualifying test, because it's a test, so you need to solve something. You need to provide something as an answer. Okay? أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. Have the people suppose that they will be left alone to say, we believe. We only believe. We believe that Allah is the one who provides everything. We believe Allah is the Razaq. We believe Allah, this money is from Allah. That's not enough. They will not be left alone to say we believe without being put to the test. And what is the test? If it is from Allah and Allah direct you to spend in a certain way, now we need to see whether you believe or not by spending. That's all. And many people might pass the exam of prayers. They are always in the first row in Fajr prayer. Many people can pass lots of examinations or tests, qualifying tests. When it comes to money, when it comes to money, it's completely a different story for them. And it's not simple. It's not easy. Because sometimes this is the concept. You make your efforts. You make high efforts. You gain money. Then you are requested or required to give it to the poor for free. And that's really strange. That's something, it's not easy. Okay? And some people, and this is why I say it's heavy. Some people think that if they help people by the power of their positions, let's say you are a minister and you can spend cash or spend some benefits. What they do, they mix between spending from the position itself and what is needed to spend from your own bucket, from your own money, from your own cash. Whatever you spend from thing, even if it's allowed, even if it's as per the regulation, this is not considered as infaq. What is considered as infaq when you spend from your own money. And some people, sometimes, this is what I said, you need to be very, very articulate about the messages itself towards everything. So it's deadly serious whenever you hear any verse. It's not a game. It's not a joke. It is related to your belief. It is directly have a connection with the relation between your relation with Allah through money. And that's not a joke. And you cannot run away from it. You cannot say, I'll find something else or another way to show my belief to Allah except this path. That doesn't work. It's heavy, so you know this now. You know that it's not easy to do because you will go against your instinct to collect money, you keep going back to your account number and check how much increase you made. That's your basic instinct. But you need to do the reverse. How much you spend every day, every week, every month, every year. And when you will be going to the next level. It's a qualifying test. Not everyone pass. Be very sure. Not everyone will pass. You might pass some exam. So let's put you are in the examination or you are in a test in college. And there are 4 parts. Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D. So you can, and they will tell you during the examination or before the examination, they'll tell you need to pass in the 4 in order to get the mark or the degree or whatsoever. You need to to pass the 4 courses or the 4 bars or whatsoever, but you cannot choose. Okay, and that's very important, because some people, how shaitan has uh has changed their perspective towards this. What they say: as long as you pray hard, you pray every day, you pray as much rak'at, but you don't spend, you will definitely go to heaven. That's not true. You need also to qualify for this test. As much as you are good to your parents and you're caring, you're very nice, but you don't spend, keep the money. Keep it and don't spend. You will not pass. And this is the message. Wherever you read in the Qur'an, when it speaks about spending, this is a clear message. People try to deviate from this, doesn't make it very serious, because sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's challenging, and everyone knows himself. We cannot judge people. We cannot judge people. We don't have a say on this. This is merely a relation between a person and his Lord towards the money he gave him. And he only knows, or she only knows, did they qualify or not. And there are signs for that. Now, the second fact, so this is the first fact when you read the Quran, and I'll give you some examples. People like to show off. People like to show off their wealth, right? So they like to have the nicest car, the nicest house, the nicest clothes. They need to show off this. They love this. And by the way, rich people, they don't enjoy being rich unless they show off. This is a fact. Unless only the believers, the sincere believers are the exception of this, statement. So usually the rich people like to show off. And what they did, I'm speaking about the Muslims, what they did, they tried to twist some verses in the Quran that gives them this comfort. So in Surah Al-Duha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. And ni'mat rabbik, ni'mah means bounty or a reward or a gift. So to make it sound, because what is saying وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي in other verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I have completed my bounty on you, or my reward on you. And he's speaking about Islam, about the religion. The religion is complete. So speak about it. Be proud of it, right? And preach for it. And have this joy that you have a complete religion. So what they did, when they twist this knowledge, they said, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Allah says, show off that you're rich. Show it in your clothes. Show it in your car. Show as much as you can that you are gifted with money. And that's not true. If you take it seriously, it's not true. Okay, you need to look good. You need to enjoy cash, enjoy the money, enjoy your wealth, but be very careful of showing off. You show it for the sake of people, like, look at me, I am rich. This is very wrong, and this is against the teachings of the Quran. Okay? This is one of the examples that you're not articulate about the messages. Another verse in the Quran, in Surah Al-Qasas, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about Qarun. Qarun is one of the richest people during the times of Moses, peace be upon him. And he used to show off. فَخَرَجَ عَلَىٰ قَوْمِهِ فِي زِينَتِهِ. He showed himself to his people with his full zinati. So whatever he have of cash, he is trying to show off that he's rich. And what did the believer says? وَابْتَغِي فِي مَا أَتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةِ. They were trying to give advices for Qarun. What they are saying, that use whatever you have of money as a sacrifice to attain the next life, to win the next life. Look very carefully. Be very articulate. This is the message. وابتغي فيما آتاك الله الدار الآخرة. So the full mission is to use وابتغي فيما آتاك, whatever Allah has given you, you need to put it in the mission to win the next life. And then while you are doing this, ولا تنس نصيبك من الدنيا. Don't forget your share of this life. This is the message. What did the people do? They neglected the first part and said, Allah said, don't forget your share in this dunya. Live to the fullest. There are no missions towards your money. The only target, you live to the fullest. And it's mentioned in the Quran. And these are the games shaitan play with you. So be very careful whenever you come across any verse in the holy book speaking about dealing with money. Be very careful. Be very articulate. Think, investigate, search, discuss until you reach the actual message. Okay? And now people make a joke about it when you go to someone and tell him an advice. Please, brother, don't waste your money like this on spendings. You don't need this. You don't need that. He said, no, Allah said, play with your money. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيا. And this is really is annoying. It shows how ignorant is the person, because that's not the message. The message, you are in a mission to the next life with your money. And while you're doing so, don't forget your share. Because it is possible you would think that Allah tell you, don't enjoy this life and only spend for the next life, and that's it. That's not the message. But usually for that, this is the mission, and this is what you don't forget. Now people are doing the reverse. They spending for the sake of this life, and they try as hard as possible to not forget about the share of next life. And that's a problem. So this is the first fact is required. I know it's heavy. The Quran said it's heavy. The Quran said it's decisive. It is not a joke. But you need to know this. Okay. Now, the next fact is money is worthless once you die. As long as you are alive, money has value. I'm speaking about in terms of next life. Whatever money you have now, it has value. It has a serious value. It could rise you up in ranks in heaven. It can actually purify your soul. It can actually take you steps higher than you expect for the next life, as long as you are alive. It's a tool, right? But once you die, once the angel of death, once you see him, it's over for you. And there is another misconception here, and I will come to it. But here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, as for those who disbelieve, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَمَاتُوا وَهُمْ كُفَّارٌ. As for those who disbelieve and die disbelievers. Okay, disbelievers of what? That you need to spend, you need to do this with the verses of the Quran for that part. And it's speaking about this, about spendings. There are some people who have disbelieved that spending is important. Okay? Even the earth full of gold would not be accepted from any of them. فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمْ مِلْءُ الْأَرْضِ ذَهَبًا وَلَوْ افْتَدَى بِهِ. And this is very clear message. What the Quran said, وَمَاتُوا وَهُمْ كُفَّارٌ. And they die as disbelieving for that. And it's speaking about spendings. And the other verse, so the amount, once you die, it doesn't matter. It's worthless because you died. And once you die, the test is over. Okay. And here, what I want to say, I will come to this. The other thing is very important. The moment of realization. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the Quran is Kareem. It gives you, and it's wise. It gives you the clear message. It tells you very clear messages. Because it is meant to save you. It is meant to benefit you. What it's saying that وَأَنفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يَأْتِيَ أَحَدَكُمُ الْمَوْتِ. Again, it's speaking about death. And give from what we have provided for you. And look at the structure of the wording. Give from what we have provided for you. رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. He gave you, and now he's testing you. Before death approaches one of you, حتى من قبل أن يأتي أحدكم الموت فيقول, and he will say, and this is the saying of millions of people. They will say this exactly. My Lord, if only you would delay me for a short while, give me more time, so that I may go back to life and be charitable, right? إلى أجل قريب فأصدق. And this is what the message was. أنفقوا فأصدق. Okay? He wants more time because at that moment he realized that he failed the test of infaq. And once he failed, there is no going back. And it's useless now. The money he has, he said, let me go back to my money so I can spend. So what is happening here? It says, as long as you're alive, as long as you are alive and you have the money, so you are under the test of infaq, spending. What the shaitan tells you, if you spend money now, okay, and don't wait, okay, maybe you will need that money. Maybe you need it, right? Maybe you want to enjoy it more. I am not sure if I can take, if this opportunity will come back again, where I have this sufficient of money or cash. So why would I spend now? Okay, shaitan play another game. But he said, you know, if you die, and by the way, this is a common mistake or wrong belief going among the Muslims. What they say, I will collect as much money as I can, as long as I am alive. Once I die, that money will be considered as sadaqah for my kids. And you're wrong. Once you die, in the concept of the Qur'an, that is not your money anymore. Be very careful. Whatever you leave of money for your kids or for the waratha, the ones who inherit you, they take it as a right, not as a sadaqah. Even if you put in your intention now that you don't want them to go broke once you die, it is not a sadaqah. Well done, you done good, okay? You gave them cash, but it's not marked as sadaqah. Because sadaqah is you need to go through, because you're dead now, you don't need that money, definitely, right? So it goes directly to them. So you didn't give them actually. So lots, especially for the eldest people, especially for the eldest, sometimes they have abundance. They are old, they have abundance, and they definitely don't need that money, but they are scared, right? They are scared of giving up that money. If there are women, they have lots of gold. Okay, they have a lot and a lot and a lot of gold, and they only wear it when there are like a celebration or something. Then it goes back to the box, and they don't want to spend it. Why? Or spend some of it. Why? Because they say they know for sure that their kids might be rich, but they don't want to give it away. They want to be at that status. Be very careful. As long as you're alive, that money, that number in your bank account, the buildings you own, the business you have, as long as you're alive, it's valuable. It's still under the test. You can use it. Once you die, the Quran tells you it's over. Be very careful. Okay? And the misconcept people have, that they say, I will collect the money, and when I die, because I brought this money up, I collected it, I worked on it hard, so it shall be considered. I think it's fair to be considered as a sadaqah, and it's not. And this is very important. Okay, so you only have third of your money third of the inherit, ثلث المال, you can write a wasiyah, a will, and be very careful. Again, the ajr of infaq while you are alive is 1,000,000 times better and heavier in the next life for you than when you're dead, because you only wrote that will because you're sure you will not use it. It's benefits. It will provide you some benefits, but the intention, how you put this, is very important, and it's calculated. Remember, ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا, not أكثر عملا. It's not the amount, it's the quality. If you spend while you are alive and you know you might need that money and you give it for the sake of Allah, the value of it is completely different than when you write it in your will. And that's what we tell always the people. If you want to do good deeds, do them while you are alive. Don't count what happens after you die. Do your test, solve your questions, and try to pass. And then if you really, if there is amount left, then that's an extra for the continuity of your good deeds. They might do sadaqah jariyah for you or something. But it doesn't make any sense that you're cheap while you are alive. You don't sacrifice anything. And once you die, you want sadaqah jariyah. يعني, it doesn't make sense as per the Quran logic. Okay? So it keeps saying, وَأَنفِقُوا وَأَنفِقُوا وَأَنفِقُوا. It didn't say أنفق when you die. Don't forget to write in your will when you die. Otherwise, it would have been clearly wrote this in the Quran. It said, أنفقوا من قبل أن يأتي أحدكم الموت. Before death approach you, show your Lord that you actually believe that He will give you back. Give. And this is very important. Money is worthless once you die. Be fast. Consider your situation, and each one has his own situation. Each one has his own attachments. Each one knows how much he is supposed to spend. And each one knows what amount purifies his soul. You don't compare yourself. Like I give you an example. When you spend for Hajj, right? There are people who goes for free on the government account, right? And there are people who pay small amount because they live nearby Mecca. And there are people who pays maybe a huge amount. And there are people who pay double that amount. Each amount is calculated because it's an act of sacrifice. Maybe you don't go for Hajj if it's not free. So your deed is different from someone who was collecting for 10 years. And the one who is collecting for 10 years, maybe he prevent himself from a lot of things, a lot of enjoyment, because he want to reach there. So even it's not the amount, but it's what they sacrificed to collect that amount. And how is this calculated is a mystery for us here today. But it will be revealed to us in that next day, in the judgmental day, in the day of judgment. And it's very important. And this is the message of Quran. You could have it, you could reject it, you could twist the verses of the Quran so you can have another perspective, but it doesn't change the fact. It keeps saying before you die, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَمَاتُوا. Okay? It said, وَأَنفِقُوا مَا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَأْتِيَ أَحَدَكُمْ الْمَوْتِ حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءَ أَحَدَهُمُ الْمَوْتِ قَالَ رَبِّي. It speaks about death. And this misconception is very, very popular amongst Muslims. And that's why now, unfortunately, even among the youth, and usually the youth, you sometimes understand why the old people don't want to spend, because their status is fragile, you know. Their health is not stable. No one can help them. They need lots of spending. They need someone to serve them. And it's tougher for them. But the youth, they know they can work, they know they are in full health, and they act like this. And that's really, really an issue today in the spending part. So money is worthless once you die. And that's a concept about money for the Muslims specifically, right? So the third part is you need to remember the power of intentions. Your intention when you do this act matters a lot. This is not only giving up the cash and that's it. Okay? It's not about giving subscriptions and that's it. And the Quran tells us that the intention can do lots of horrible things in the physical world, and so it can do in the next world. So in the story of the people of the garden, Surah Al-Qalam, okay, about the people of the garden, their intention was to not give the poor, right? They said, "This is we inherited this garden from our father, and it has lots of crops, it has lots of fruits, it has lots of vegetables, and our dad was stupid. He took some portion and make it a right for these poor people." And the story is continuous. Every you could see it in every society. So they think they are smart. They said, "You know what? We will not give these poor." And they made a firm intention. Inna balawnahum kama balawna ashab al-jannah. We have tested them. Tested them with what? With spending. As we tested the owners of the garden when they vowed, when they made a qasam. They made a qasam that they will harvest. إذ أقسموا ليصرمنها مصبحين ولا يستثنون, with the exception of nothing. They vowed to harvest the full amount for themselves, and logically you would think this is their right. You said, "You know what? This is their garden, this is their money, they can enjoy it fully. What's the problem?" And they can pray. And the Quran tell us they were believers, but they were weak believers. They know God exists. Their father was a Muslim. It's clear from the story. They think they are smart, and they thought that they could serve Allah, or they can show their belief. They can prove their belief in something else than the money or the spendings. What happened? They lost everything. And it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not pleased with them. Intention matters. The intention has a power. When you deal with money, be very careful. In fact, be extra careful when you deal with money and spendings. Because what you are doing now it's an act of worship. So your target is the sake of Allah. And there is a lots of things, lots of emotions, lots of thoughts comes to you when you start dealing with the spending of money, even when you do the sadaqah. One part is when you try to prevent it from the ones who deserve them. You are in trouble. The Quran says you are in trouble. The second thing in intention, when you disqualify that act by al-man wal-adha. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تبطلوا صدقاتكم بالمن والأذى. Oh, you who believe, do not nullify your charitable deeds with reminders and hurtful words. Now let's give an example. You said that you give charity for the sake of Allah. So you give someone poor some cash. And then when you go to the masjid, he doesn't even look at you. He doesn't say thank you. He's not grateful to you. Then you get upset, right? And then you go to him. Said, remember when I gave you this money? Remember when I gave you sadaqah? you have no sense of respect. That's one part. And then the marks are over. And lots of people, sometimes they spend, but not for the sake of Allah. They spend money, but not for the sake of Allah. The sake of reputation, to be told or to be acknowledged as a generous man or woman. So you're very generous. No, you're not generous. You're a hypocrite. This is exactly the description of the Quran. كَالَّذِي يُنْفِقُ مَالَهُ رِئَاءَ النَّاسِ. Like him who spends his wealth to be seen by the people. Because of course it gives you a good status. You're rich and you're spending. And by the way, this is the rule of the spendings of lots of rich people, even the Muslims. They say if you don't mention, if you don't show you're grateful, if you don't show that you're grateful to me, okay, I will not spend money. I need the world to know that I gave you money. I gave you furniture. Even in families, said you give some spendings, and then that poor relative does not acknowledge this is from you. And each time you go to his house or a family gathering, it tickles you. It hurts you that no one knows that you bought this for them. Then what do? You nullify the deed. You couldn't resist. So I told you, this is heavy. This is very heavy. And then you need to mention this. You said, you know what? I bought this. And then your marks are gone. And this is exactly what it mentioned. فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ صَفْوَانٍ عَلَيْهِ تُرَابٌ فَأَصَابَهُ وَابِلٌ فَتَرَكَهُ صَلْدًا. His likeness is that of a smooth rock covered with soil. A downpour strikes it and leaves it bare. Your words can nullify or remove the impact or the benefits of spending money. And this is why most of the charity organizations, they actually not really functioning well. ما في بركة كما يقولوا. There is no blessings. Why? Because they insist on this. In some cases, they insist on this. Or the people who are working for the charity, with time they get tired of serving with no acknowledgements. And then they will say that we need the world to know our efforts. But you said you work in a charity. So for you, you shouldn't care. They know from who works in this money and from where it came. This is how it's supposed. This is the power of sadaqah. This is how it works. And from my experience, we were in a meeting in one of these charity societies. And the money is there. Okay. Someone donated amount of money. And the needy persons are recognized. The only problem to some of these board members, they are insisting that requiring a recognition, official recognition from that party to this party that we gave you this. And this is this is completely against the word of charity, the meaning of the word charity. In the Quran, I'm speaking. Yes, for the non-Muslims, usually they feel good. It makes them feel good. It makes them, they feel they are good people. And they make the charity. Then they make the announcement. And then everyone recognize them as they are good people. And they are sacrificed. In the Quran, it says, the more silent you are, the better or the closer it gets to be accepted. Not all sort of charities or sadaqat is accepted. And this is all related to the intention with the money. And maybe you are lost. Maybe you are in a delusion. You think that for the past years, you've been spending money for the sake of Allah. And actually you are spending the money for the sake of self-esteem or ego or these sorts of things. And it happens when the Prophet said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, وَاللُّقْمَةُ تَضَعُهَا فِي فَمِ زَوْجَتِكَ صَدَقَةٌ. The, 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 uh, the bite of food that your wives eat from your spendings is considered sadaqah. What's the problem? Someone is married for 20 years and he is the only provider in that house. And he buy this, what we call ration, all the food, everything, meats, everything, rice, everything for that wife for 20 years. And then one fight happened. One deadly fight happened in the court. And then he lose his mind. Maybe he didn't do anything wrong. Maybe the wife lost it. Maybe the mistake comes from the wife. What he will say? He will mention all these spendings and he will invalidate that for 20 years. It's like as he did nothing. That's why I say be very sensitive, be very careful. Or you give charity to your kids, right? You feed them, you spend for their school, you spend the bills, you pay the bills, you offer a lot. And then the test come to you. Were you doing this for Allah? Or were you doing this because everyone does it? Maybe one of your kids is ungrateful in the most ugly way. He said, Dad or Mom, you did nothing to me. You provided me nothing. You're not like other. And he will start to push that button. And the only one knows how much trouble, how much hardships you went through is yourself. And then he keeps pressing that button until you start talking. And you will start تبطلوا صدقاتكم بالمن والأذى, because you will lose it. It's bad. You will lose it. And so you need to be very careful, because Shaitan will not let you go to heaven easily. He is your enemy and he swore on this. So money for us on the spendings, intention matters. Why do you spend? And sometimes, when I say be careful, sometimes your intention is good, but in the way of the journey, he will come by and try to change your intention. Your intention was good and it will end up with something. So because the time is running short, I hope this is clear. Intentions matters. Okay? Now, money is not like any other things. Money is a vital factor for believers to become practical, to express their belief. They need to prove it. And how they prove it? By spending. To whom? To specific types of people. You don't choose. So you love your friend and your friend is rich and you buy him an expensive gift. That's not charity. That's not sadaqah. That's something to make the bond better. It's hadiyah. Don't mix what the Qur'an asks you to do with what you want to do. You love your kid and your kid is not needy and you spend a lot on him. But that spending, not all of it is considered sadaqah. Some of these extra things just to rise the bond between you and him. You want him to love you. You want him to be connected with you. That's different from the spendings where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the relatives his rights. وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَى حَقَّهُ. The qurba is a big circle, not only your kids and your wife. The qurba means your father, your mother, even your grandparents, your brothers, your sisters. And the circle gets bigger and bigger. And they have a right. You need to be very careful. Wal miskin, and the poor. The poor in the town has some connection with you. He's asking about his right. And this is when we have the tabaqiyya. This is called rich people versus poor people. And the rich walk around like he has no attachments. In the Quran, the money you have, some portion of it And I'll be very clear. It's not talking about zakah. It's speaking about a right. Wherever there is a poor, there is a miskin, okay? And there is ibn sabil, the one who has no connection. He came to your country and he has no connection and he cannot reach anyone. It said, give them their right. And it's very important, this one. And that's why some scholars said, as-sadaqa wajiba. Charity is a must, just as zakah. But and this is when I say be very articulate when you read the verses of the Quran. It doesn't speak about only zakah. And this is the misconception Muslims have. As long as I pay the 2.5%, I'm free. Khalas. There is no attachments. If you read very carefully these Quranic verses, it doesn't say that. It makes you comfortable. That's true. But it doesn't say that. And another verse in the Quran said, وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصًا. And this is not zakah. And find no hesitation in their hearts in helping them while they are give them the priority over themselves. And you don't give priority to someone over yourself except if you are needy. وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصًا. Even if they themselves are needy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Those are the ones who are successful. Because the situation sometimes require you to sacrifice. So you have a money and you want to go on a trip. Okay? You want to enjoy a trip. You have 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. You want to relax. And something comes up in the family. You know, someone is really in need. Will you sacrifice that trip or you don't? That's another level. And remember, I've spoken about the levels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here speaks about the Sahaba. The Sahaba of the Medina. How they welcomed the Sahaba of the Mecca. The Muhajirin. They have nothing with them. And these people are coming to their homes. They are coming to their markets. They're supposedly, by the basic instinct, are not welcome, even if they are Muslims, because they will share their lives. They will share everything with them. And they have to accept it. And this is what the message came. That's how the Sahaba improved their religion. That's how they improved their faith. They made sacrifice. Okay, and this is very important. We could have a whole dedicated lecture only on this verse and how we deviated from that and what is the impact in society when the kid or the son wants to live their life freely from the parents. So you know what, my parent will be really annoying, will not give me the full enjoyments if he's in my house, so go away, I don't want to share. وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصًا. And they keep saying sharing is caring, right? It's very important. So anyway, money is the way you prove that you believe Allah. This is the money is from Allah and to Allah. And this is the only one can know about himself is you, no one else. You could be very rich. You could be living a nice life. And you are really a true believer when it comes to money. There is no conflict. And you could be an average person and you are very stingy, cheap with your cash. And you're very far away from Allah. It has nothing to do with your status. It's just how you react with this cash. And do you believe or you don't believe? Okay. So I think the last slide, I'll try to be fast. Expect nothing. That's a rule. That's a ground rules in the Quran. Expect nothing in returns from the people you give. And that's the only accepted deed when it comes to money. Expect no gratitude or any acts of gratitude. Expect no thank you. Expect no recognition. But actually, you need to work as hard as possible to not be known that you are the one who gives this money. To benefit from that cash or that spendings or these sadaqats or these zakats, you need in your heart sincerely and truly believe or try as hard as you can to not be known. وَرَجُلٌ أَنْفَقَ نَفَقَ فَأَخْفَاهَا. And a man who spends, this is in the one of the narratives of the Prophet. وَرَجُلٌ أَنْفَقَ نَفَقَةً فَأَخْفَاهَا. A man spent some spendings and then he hide it. So his left hand does not know what his right hand is doing. And that's a metaphoric speech that his two hands does not know about the spendings, right? And this is mentioned in the Quran. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. Focus. And they feed for the love. And this is not the right. يُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلى حُبِّهِ, as they love that, what they are spending. The poor and the orphan and the captive. They spend while they want that. Like you have like a nice, let's say, meal or lunch, right? It's very nice, big banquet. You have like slaughtered goats, meat is fresh, rice is very well prepared, but you don't want to share that food with the poor. Okay? It's only for you, right? وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا. Give the food that you love from the one you eat. مسكينا ويتيما أسيرا. إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله. We only feed you for the sake of God, for the sake of Allah. We expect nothing from you, compensation nor gratitude. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكور. Then and only then, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, so God will protect them from the ills of that day. شر ذلك اليوم, the hellfire. Because they do it to save themselves. To save themselves from hell. To save themselves from being questioned about that money. And that's the only way they do it. So our psychology of money is completely different in the Quran. Because in the any environment other than the Quran, you need to get benefits. You need to get something actually, so you can use that money. Well, you need to get reputation, so people will respect you. You need to get recognition, so people can hear you when you speak. Here it's not. This is not the case. This is completely the opposite. Okay, and these areas where the shaitan plays around. Okay. That's very important. Sometimes you spend to build a mosque. And by the way, this is like a practical example. If you go to a rich person and tell him, we have a poor woman here, maybe a widow or a divorced woman who is poor, and she doesn't have a house, and we want to build for her a house, and we need your money, and he have it, 50,000, 60,000, he have it. But what he said, no, I don't want to pay this. Said, I want to pay for a mosque, and everyone knows that mosque is under the name of my grandfather. It's the masjid of my dad, and I built it. I did good deed. Now try to think about this. He doesn't want to help the poor, which he was instructed to do as an obligation, because no one will know about it. And maybe that woman will not actually even say thank you. She doesn't know me, or I don't know her, right? And I don't know these kids, and I don't know this family. Why should I help them? But I want this recognition. It comes as a religious picture. And this is a common thing is happening now in our society. People want to build mosques only. And this is really, I'm not trying to reduce the act itself. But when we value these, when we try to connect the dots, what Allah exactly wants from spending. وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَى حَقَّهُ وَالْمِسْكِينَ وَابْنَ السَّبِيلِ يُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مسكين. No, we don't want to give the miskin. This miskin can try to work hard and he try to do this. And that's why we are not making any progress. The spending, the infaq, the money Allah gave us is supposed to create prosperity in the society. That's the only target. That the rich look over the poor. And then both are Muslims, but we don't, create this tension or this hardship. It doesn't make the rich people feel bad inside his heart when he sees a poor, because there is a connection, because they are Muslims. Now, what is happening? That we are not making great progress in this, because our concept of money or our psychology of money has changed. And we deviated from the ground rules has been made towards this cash. When it is accepted, life is really, really in a hurry. And we need to act fast, right? We need to be mindful. We need to correct our intentions. And we need to expect nothing in returns. The more secret it is, the better. The closer it gets accepted, right? So I think the time is over. So if you have any questions, I need to conclude up to this level. So if you have any questions, please ask, or I shall conclude the session.
It looks like there are no questions. Shukran, Sheikh, for reminding us on this.
Sorry. I have a question.
Yes, please.
With regards to giving to the poor,
Yeah.
we have the poor who go around asking for help.
Yes.
And the government has said those people should not be helped. If you do that, then both the person who is asking and the person who is giving will pay a fine or will go to jail or whatever. Okay. What do we do?
Okay. So what is happening? Why the government made this regulation, especially in the mosques? Because there is a security issue. We don't know these people and we don't know where they came from. And what they are trying to say that we should direct this to channels, official channels, where we know who are these people, what is their situation, how they came here, and what is the problem actually. So the asking for money will not become a business. And if you focus in the Quran, what it says, وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَى. First, we start with our relatives, because we know them. We know them very clearly. I don't know your relatives, which one is poor, which one is rich. You don't know my relatives, okay? And this is how it happens. And the sequence is very important. If each rich person, or let's say a person who can give charity, starts with his relatives, then we start to attack this crisis of being poor amongst the society. Because the main concept, if you think about it, the Quran came to fight poorness. If someone is poor, his faith is in danger. Anyone who is poor, his faith is in danger. And one of the statements made in the I don't know whether it's from the Prophet or from the companions of him, he said, كَادَ الْفَقْرُ أَنْ يَكُونَ كُفْرًا. It's almost being poor, close to become a kafir, unbeliever. Okay, so if you focus in the verses of the Quran, any mistake you do, let's say you broke the fast of Ramadan purposely, it will show you that to amend that, you need to spend to feed 60 poor person, right? And you need to atq raqaba, which paying the debts of that slave, so to become unslave, or he has his freedom. So it's all related to trying to fight this poorness. But to fight the poorness, what happens? that there are some, and it happens, there are some misuses of this function. So we don't know these people, and this is really this is a sensitive subject, because you cannot distinguish from the one who is asking you. There are no ways to evaluate this or need the money, whether he needs it or he's a fraud. He could claim anything. So we start with the relatives. And the second thing, if we intend to help Ibn Sabil, if they are not residents or not citizens of the country, that's the Ibn Sabil, we need to find a way how to reach them in more an organized matter, so no crimes will happen. Because it happens in one of the in nearby of our location, where they started to make a group, and you see the same people knocking the same cars, and they make fortunes out of the sadaqah. And that's also prohibited in Islam, but especially in Ramadan they start. And there are some groups also, why the regulation came, I assume these things, it's like a precautions to take, because some women sometimes they ask for money, and then they could make claims, legal claims, that they attack that person, or they try to blackmail him. Okay. And so this is a sensitive talk when it comes to regulations that are made to protect the people, and also to control how we spend our money when it comes to sadaqah. So there are no conflict, but what I say is we need first to focus on the hierarchy. First, the relatives, وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَ حَقَّهُ, then the miskin, the one you know, because you will have some amount of money, and you want to give it as sadaqah. You don't wait for people to ask you to give me money, I'm in need. You already done that. And it's called the sa'il. وَأَمَّا السَّائِلْ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. So a sa'il, the one who asks for money, what you are asked to do, to not humiliate him. Give him nice word and leave. If you don't trust him, if you don't believe him, if you don't feel that he's in need. Because definitely if he's in need, there are ways to help them, right? And I hope this is touch the answer of the question.
Yes, it did, but for the qurba, that's not a problem.
Okay.
It's for sa'ilin. My problem is with sa'ilin.
Right.
Let's say we have a group, okay? Somebody gets into trouble. That we know we can help with each other, because we already know each other, okay?
Exactly. Right.
And your relatives, you take care of them whenever you can.
Okay.
It's not always that you'll be able to fulfill all their needs, okay? But you do the best you can.
Okay.
It's when I am at a petrol station, for example, and a young boy comes, an Omani young boy, okay? He is asking somebody sick with a piece of paper. And my heart wants to help, but I'm in a public place. If somebody sees me, maybe there's a policeman around, I'm afraid of breaking the law.
Okay.
I don't know the boy, but I feel that I want to help.
So,
my heart is breaking.
So you tell him that, sorry, I want to help you, but it's against the law. I can help you to get to the charity societies or the direct department in the ministry where they can help you. I can help you by that, to verify whether you need. Because
I have said that before, but at the same time, is there astaghfirullah, don't these people already know that there is a law and they're breaking it?
Yeah, I'll tell you something.
They do know. And then when you
No, I'll tell you something. Always, there are a small percentage. We call them the tolerance percentage or the error percentage. People who want to take advantage of the faith. There are always there that. And they always exist in society, and we cannot distinguish. And we need to live with that, because we don't know, right, who is needy, who is not. But it doesn't mean we stop, but we can organize this. It's annoying, and we need to be very careful, because these people are actually what you say, blocking the actual ones who need. And that this case happens. That so to the best of your efforts, you need to be very careful that he deserves that. If I don't know him, I apologize, and I can help him in other ways. I said I can get your name, give me your name, give me your location. I can investigate you. If I really want to help him, and I don't want to break that law. But there are always, in all cases, there are, and it's mentioned in the Quran. Sometimes, for instance, the act is only pure on the claims is made. And we need to live with that. If he says, I am a Muslim, I am sincere in this, there is a percentage that he's lying. But he wants some benefits from the Islam or the Muslims or the society or that thing. And I need to live with that. And I don't feel bad about it. I don't break laws to get in trouble because I am, blackmailed with my emotions or my principles. You don't put me in that stage. If the law or the regulation, because what I tell you, if it's opened, the money will go to people who don't deserve that. These people sometimes maybe they don't even pray. It doesn't matter whether he's Omani or non-Omani. He's a human being, and human beings differ from one to another. So there are always this percentage, and you cannot find a way to verify whether he needs, that's why they said as there should be some people who know them. So if you ask me, what about this, your neighbor, we heard he needs money and he's in trouble. And maybe I'll tell you, no, it's not true. The guy took a loan and played with his money, and he needs again someone to pay the loan, and then so you can verify them. But they exist always in the mosques, in the societies, in the groups, everywhere. So this you cannot find a discrete way where you can 100% make sure. But the Quran tells us, don't humiliate them. Speak to them nicely. Give them nice words. And if they really, really are in need, and they need your help, say, give me your name, give me your address, and I will investigate your situation and come back to you. And that way you cleared your bond towards this duty. But it's not like give me now or nothing. And then if he's really in need, he said, thank you. Here's my address. Here's my phone number. Here's my house. I'm really in trouble. Please investigate. And you will find a way. And I know that some societies or some charity societies, they do this. They take a list and then they verify them. And that's why they say don't give anyone just like that, because they need to verify who is in need and who is playing. Okay? And this happens. This is not a bad thing. This is part of the nature of humans. There are these marginal people who has no good intentions toward this thing. Hope it's clear.
Thank you very much. My mind is clear now. I know how to deal with it.
Okay.
But
excellent.
It always felt very hard, Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. Shukran jazilan. We will conclude the session. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Thank you for attending. May Allah reward you with your time and efforts made to be successful lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Amin.